Hey everybody, it's Master Galengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Loki 1893. And this was another weird one. There's some movement in the plot, but it's taken kind of a longer time to kind of get here. And the thing is, we're still trying to work on fixing the loom. It just feels like it's been stretched to a point of like, hey, this is this kind of story, but we're stretching it to 6 episodes, and there's a lot of different things that I wish they would kind of delve into more deeply in this one. However, the things that I really liked is that when it brought Renslayer back into the fold with Ms. Minutes and tying them together with Victor Timely and everything kind of going on with that. It was interesting seeing Victor Timely because it's a different kind of take. It's not just Kang, it's this person in this time period and everything, and you definitely feel a sense for this character even though they were just introduced in this episode. The one that really gets kind of screwed over is Sylvie, because there's a lot of stuff that like pops up with her that I really wish they would delve into, but they just keep her doing stupid plot demandsy kind of shit, to be honest with you. So, we start off in 1868 on the Sacred Timeline, and that is evidently where Ms. Minutes has been hiding out. Renslayer's like, alright, I brought what you kind of wanted. What's going on? Alright, he remains, made a plan to protect all the time, and it starts with this, toss that book into there. Just do it in the window. And we see this kid doing some experiments, and then it's a TVA guidebook leading us to 1893, in this branch timeline as Loki and Mobius go there, and they're pretty much trying to track Renslayer's temp pad because they need... We see Ouroboros OB kind of freaking out, like, I need all this kind of stuff. I need someone with this temporal, like, aura of either He Who Remains, Renslayer, or Ms. Minutes. And Mobius is like, can't you just hack into the system? He'd be like, oh, cool, you know how to do that? It's like, no, I'm asking if you know how to do that. It's like, no, we're all dead. It's like, I understand that everything's going holy fuckballs wild with the temporal loom, but why would you essentially lock yourself out of being able to attempt to fix it like we've done? It was almost like the plot demands that it needed to be done this way to do this kind of roundabout rigmarole when we really didn't kind of need it. So they're in 1893. They kind of tracked to see kind of what was kind of going on, and then they're like, what happened in this time? Oh yeah, the Chicago World's Fair. I'm like, yeah, that was an important kind of thing. So they pretty much just kind of go around. Loki, Mobius is like, oh, you're a man of action. I kind of go around, walk around. Of course, they see stuff about like a fucking ghost clock, Ms. Minutes, bowling around, and then of course they look up and they see temporal marvels of Victor Timely. It's like, let's go check it out. We also get a cool little kind of thing where Loki kind of laments them doing stuff about like the Norse stuff, and someone wondered, oh, you're just mad because they don't have you up there name dropping Boulder and everything like that. It's like, okay, but we don't really get much done in this time period. As a show about like time, you would think that they would like do stuff almost kind of Quantum Leap style of detailing and kind of actually living in the time period a little bit, because otherwise it's just window dressing here. I mean, we get a little bit of it as Victor Timely's doing stuff with his technology and then trying to fuck over some other people, but that's about it. There needs to be an interplay and balance, and it's the execution that gets off. So they go, they see Victor Timely stuff, we see Renslayer's there with Ms. Minutes, and Timely has essentially created his temporal loop, talking like temporal, his own like little temporal loom, not loop, and talking about how for an energy source you can utilize time. It's like, ooh, that's interesting. And I like the quotes like, science is always fiction until it's fact. I'm like, ooh, I kind of like seeing him go through this kind of stuff, detail and everything, trying to see and show everything that's going on with the temporal loom. It's like, okay, so you're utilizing time as an energy source. That would be a very interesting concept to kind of delve into. And someone's like, oh, you could do a light bulb. What about like a city or whatnot? It's like, he wants to power the whole world. And wants to get like bidders and everything. This one mustachioed kind of dude's like, I want to partner with you. He's like, I don't partner with people, and Kang usually doesn't. So we have this kind of seed thrown in here. We get a little bit of it throughout the episode, mainly here, and then another bit with like Renslayer. So we see that there starts to be a bidding war for the prototype, and of course the mustachioed dude then gives him $1,000 because the other dude drove it up, and then Victor Timely kind of pays him off. It's like, ooh, it's a great little thing that blink and you'll miss it kind of character moment. It's like, he knows how to run his con like this, of getting someone to hype someone up, like, I'll buy it from you, and get the price up for everything like that. Renslayer tries to kind of like talk to him about what needs to be done, and then it gets kind of to the point where they kind of start getting into a chase sequence. Loki deals with a dude by pretty much teleporting him into a cage, and then they kind of all go after Timely. We see that his temporal loom is bullshit, and the mustachio man then starts trying to chase him throughout. This councilman dude's like, your leg things aren't working. He's like, oh no, it's a prototype, you already look taller. We find out that he has ideas, but he doesn't know how to execute them well, and he doesn't really have the technology to execute them well either. And then they just chase around, run around until Sylvie pops up and like, I need to kill this motherfucker. And it's like, oh god. And she's essentially become how He Who Remains is, going after variants and everything, and she's like, he's going to be He Who Remains, and Loki's protecting him, and it's kind of echoing what was kind of going on at the end of last season, with Loki being like, hold on, Sylvie, we need to kind of think through what the consequences of the actions are. It's like, fuck that noise! Granted, she does have emotional attachment, that she has been hunted and fucking hates this dude for having her be in such a position. However, we now see that it is flipped around, and she is now essentially doing the stuff that He Who Remains would have been doing, hunting down variants and killing them before they create problems. However, this isn't really explored that much within this episode, and it's not really kind of brought up. I kind of wish Loki had brought that up to her, being like, you are now doing... this guy's different, alright? But the thing is, we also need him so that way time doesn't fucking explode. We've got everything forced in this temporal loom, and we need to figure out how to make it not blow up. Like, I understand her leeriness of allowing him in the TVA, then just go with them. It's just like immediately getting ready to like kill his ass. And so they're kind of like fighting, and then they kind of get blasted out. And then we see that Timely escapes, gets back to his room, kind of hooks up with Renslayer and Ms. Minutes, and then of course the mustachio guy is still chasing him as they do another kind of chase sequence, and he gets off onto the river to get to his lab because he needs a prototype. Renslayer kind of puts on the moves and be like, yeah, this could be a good partnership, but of course Victor isn't part of that and kind of backs away, and Ms. Minutes is like, oh no, and then pretty much utilizes the game and he just puts her off the boat, and Ms. Minutes is like, yeah, we'll work well together, we got this. So he gets into his lap, he's got everything, he's like, alright, let's go to the TVA, and Ms. Minutes essentially goes homicidal girlfriend AI on his ass, being like, yeah, you made me, well, He Who Remains made me to do chess and then allow me to do my programming and stuff, but you never gave me a real body. He's like, I don't know how to do that, and I'm different than that dude. He's like, I love you. It's like, shit! But Renslayer pops up and pretty much Pokeball captures the motherfucking Ms. Minutes, and is like, she's got like his prototype of like the pruning kind of thing, and she's like, fuck this shit. I got this shit. And then of course, Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie pop up, and Mobius is trying to talk her down. It's like, I've had to clean up all your messes and shit. And I'm like, lady, it's, what? Okay, alright. And she's like, I'm standing between order and chaos. And it's like, yeah, you just want the power, you asshole. But then Sylvie pops up and kind of blasts her. She's getting ready to pretty much kill Victor Timely. And he's like, there's a really powerful scene of him explaining that, like, you don't know my heart. I'm not who you think I am. And it's like, damn. And Sylvie is then convinced and lets them go to the TVA, and she's like, don't make me regret this, pretty much. And then they leave Renslayer to her. So they get back to the TVA, and that's kind of where we leave them. Sylvie's like, oh, I've pictured thousands of ways to kill you, but now I'm just going to punch you into a time door to the end of time, which Sylvie didn't even take her temp pad to make sure that she wouldn't escape. At least that's where I thought that Ms. Minutes popped out of, as we then see the corpse of He Who Remains just like decaying there, and that Ms. Minutes knows some kind of secret about Renslayer, and that's where the episode ends. So the main highlights was Victor Timely and kind of trying to understand what He Who Remains' kind of overarching plan was in the inevitable case of his demise and the unleashing of the multiversal war. I don't mind Miss Minutes being homicidal girlfriend AI, but we haven't really had much of her, so it just plops out of nowhere as a plot kind of thing, in my opinion, that needed to be better executed, and if not led up to, just executed better, because it just seems like we've got it there to be like out of nowhere. There's a lot of better kind of ways to have done this, so that way it just doesn't like, oh, okay, we've got this going on. So we'll see what kind of works out throughout what goes on. We know Renslayer was connected to He Who Remains, but she evidently doesn't remember it or whatnot, which I guess Miss Minutes could potentially be alluding to. We will have another kind of thing probably next episode where Obi's like, the temporal loom's gonna explode or whatnot. Because we did see that Victor Timely had some kind of thing that he wanted prototype-wise from his lab, and also has a throughput multiplier that would probably help with the temporal loom. So we'll see if that potentially gets fixed out or not, or if the future that Loki went to is actually going to be at the end of the episode, like end of the season, excuse me. So we'll have to see where this kind of works out. I don't mind things taking a longer kind of time, but like the story needs to be better paced to it, where it doesn't feel like there's dead spots and certain things are just thrown in to be there. Like the chase sequences here were not really that engaging and felt more like filler time wasting more than anything for me. And that's even really kind of liking the things that we got out of the episode of Timely, the understanding of Ms. Minutes actually as a character, and Sylvie essentially doing the same thing that He Who Remains was doing, but yet her not realizing that. I just wish the episode actually latched onto that potential and dug into it. I mean, there's time, but I mean, we're halfway through the season now. We'll have to see how this kind of goes. Yeah, so I wasn't bored, but there were a lot of kind of dead spaces and unutilized potential, especially in the time period. Like the World Fair at Chicago like this, there could have been wackier, nuttier kind of things that could have popped up. I mean, throwing that TVA thing in there, we could have got Steampunk Iron Man or whatnot being set up and in this branch universe, or all different kind of wacky kind of inventions or whatnot. There's a lot of things that could have happened they just laid it there and was like, oh, okay, now granted, I don't mind focusing on Victor Timely and everything kind of going on and setting up Kang's importance to the multiversal war that's going to be utilized throughout this phase, and well, this saga, and seeing kind of what goes on with there. But there's, I don't know, man. It's all down into the execution. It's been all over the place with this. At least for me. If you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you. And enjoy it, have your good time, and rock out with it. Alright? So, those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.